Welcome to the Inspired Action Podcast. This is where we have motivational, inspiring conversations and interviews that we hope you will enjoy listening to. If you're interested in creating more balance in your life, understanding your 5-element energetic nature, finding the path of greatest ease,
or releasing the baggage of this lifetime and discovering ancient alchemy that can help you fly in your life, join us and other inspired actioneers on this alchemical transformational journey.
Welcome back to the Inspired Action Podcast. I'm Jay, and this is my co-host, Lita Herman.
Hey everyone, we are really excited about this episode today because it is the 7th in a series of podcasts we've done on the 5 elements.
Lucky 7.
And 7 is the number of potential in Chinese medicine.
Well, this episode has some potential to really help you figure out your 5 elements. And we're going to talk about your worst nightmare scenario, which is sometimes referred to as your 3rd element, and how to avoid it. And then you can really start to fly in your life. So this pod is pod 18, and we're calling it What the Bleep is on 3rd.
What the Bleep is on 3rd. I love that. And the 3rd element is like your worst nightmare, and knowing how to avoid that is the most important thing, because as Jay said, it can help you really fly in your life, because when you get taken down by your nightmare scenarios, you lose so much time and you lose so much of your life, really. So you need to know what that 3rd one is, know how to avoid it so that you can get your gifts to the right people in the world and really take advantage of that instead of your nightmare scenarios.
And you could be constantly being held back by your own self.
Basically, yeah.
So it's like that, with things we talked about in the last episode. But so for those of you who are just joining us for the first time, it might be a good idea to review some of our previous podcasts on the 5 elements. We introduced the 5 elements in pod 2, and then pods 12 through 17, and now 18 are all about the nuances, the challenges, the wonderfulness of each of the elements. So go ahead, check those out, and come back and join us when you're ready. And for those of you who are following us along on the journey, this is it. This is the last one on the 5 elements for now. We might come back to it in the future.
We'll always come back to the 5 elements.
Yeah, I think so. It is kind of underlying to a lot of different things energetically.
It's about knowing yourself.
It's about knowing yourself. And that's what this podcast is all about, getting to know yourself. Getting to know yourself.
You have to sing. Yay!
I know. Get it right out of the way now. So, all right. So, Lita, what is so important about your 3rd element in your stack up of elements? And I got to ask you, are we going to talk about the ice cream cone again?
Of course, the ice cream reference. Yes. So the 3rd element in your stack up, I like to say, is like all the toppings on your ice cream, the sprinkles, the secret sauce you put on top of your cone. The 3rd in the stack up is that element that comes to the rescue when you're really down and out. Maybe you have a lover that broke up with you, or someone special died, or you lost your job, or maybe you're just really, really sick and, you're really miserable.
So how does the 3rd element help you out? How does it come to your rescue?
Well, initially, it's not very helpful. And it's usually not the nice version of an element. We've sort of given you a lot of really wonderful things about each element. So when it's your 3rd, it's the nasty part of that element.
The ones you don't want to really think about.
So for example, if your 3rd is wood, you can go into the really pissed off about whatever has caused this terrible thing in your life right at this moment. If you're sick, maybe you're mad at the person who gave you their cold. Maybe they sneezed in your direction, or so-and-so should have stayed home from the office that day.
So kind of you're into the blame game.
Yes, the blame game. Yeah, and that's not usually helping you in your situation at all.
Yeah, and if your 3rd is fire, then you'll be crying that nobody loves you.
Yes.
It's about the heart, the emotion.
Yes, it's the poor me, I'm unlovable 3rd element. Everyone hates me.
Nobody loves me. Everybody hates me. I think I'll go eat a worm.
I was just going to say that I'm going to go out and eat worms.
Whoever wrote that song was probably fire.
Fire 3rd.
Fire 3rd, yes. And if your 3rd element is earth, then you'll be whining. Don't get mad at me for saying that nobody's taking care of you, no one's helping you, and you have to do everything on your own.
Well, I'm Earth 3rd, and so I don't take offense to that. I really do go into that whiny. It's not what Earth first is like.
Right. It's like the
Earth
martyr
third.
element.
Oh,
It's like
yeah.
carrying the weight of everyone. They're like it's on your shoulders.
Yeah,
It's
totally.
not a happy place. And if your third is metal, then you'll be feeling like a piece of bleep crap and that nobody values or respects you.
And I like to say it's Eeyore at his worst. And, life sucks and everyone sucks and everything sucks.
Sucks. Yes. So that's metal if you're in your third. And if you have water as your third, then you'll be a dramatic state of fear or panic.
It's hysteria and everything is an emergency. A splinter could be an emergency. Stitches are definitely emergency. I mean, you could just have a tummy ache and you're going to die.
And you just can't tell the difference between the splinter or the stitches.
Right.
You're like, and then you look, it's just a splinter. Okay.
Yeah.
That just sounds awful to me. And those, like you said, those are like the not so happy places. If you have those third, doesn't mean that it's like that when you have them first or second. But what we're really talking about is the worst of each element. And those are the real challenges of understanding yourself.
And remember, we all have hints of this if we're those elements first. So if you're water, for example, and you hear a fire engine out on the street, you're going to pay attention. You suddenly like go, oh. And years ago, I had this client who was a kid and he heard a fire engine near his home, but he was a couple blocks away. And he just panicked and started running home and left his sister in a stroller on the street. Luckily the mom was there and could, but it was a little distressing that he was but he wasn't doing well. And so his water, which normally wouldn't have freaked out as if it was his third.
It was triggered.
It was definitely triggered.
Yeah.
So it's not that you can't go there if you're water first. I mean, a fire person is always worried about not being loved, but they know a lot of people love them because they're so lovable. So mostly they can work around their fear of not being loved if they're fire first. But if you're fire third and life has thrown you some really bad curveballs and you descend into what I call the fire pit of despair where no one loves you, it's misery. It's not fun. You're not the life of the party anymore.
No, more like the life of the pity party.
Yes. Yes.
So that's fire third. And do people actually, when I hear you talk about this, do people actually get stuck in their third?
Actually, yes, but not as much as you think. Now, here's the thing. The third is there to rescue you, and it helps you remember who you are. So in a sense, it gets you to come back to yourself. But you might be off for a while before that happens, and it's definitely not pleasant and looks really ugly to those around you.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's when people are stuck. When I'm working with people, they're stuck in this panic. So sometimes you don't even know what their first or second element is if you can't realize what they're stuck in.
Well, I get that a lot because I have a clinic and a lot of people are sick who come to me. So initially when I first meet them, sometimes I can't figure out what element they are because the third is screaming, I call it.
Just think about all the things we just said. If someone's stuck in that, it's really hard to figure that out. But, it can be done. So, all right. So give us an example how that can actually, the third element, the whole rescuing can help. Like how does it rescue you from yourself?
I'll give you a personal example. If I get really exhausted because my water has been tapped, which is the second, I go into martyr mode and then I collapse whining that no one is helping me and I'm all alone.
Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah. And I'm doing so much and there's a big blah, 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 blah story about it. But after I get over my little hissy fit, which was in the past often accompanied by getting really sick. So then
that's very interesting, by the way, the sick factor. We'll come back to that.
It was interesting because people would have to come take care of me and then help me out. Yep. And what was my complaint? Nobody's helping me. So I then start to remember who I really am and that I'm lovable. And essentially, my earth helps me get back to what matters most to me, which is love, relationship, connection. And then I'm off and running again. And it's there to help me if I'm open to it.
Sure. And is there anything you could do when you're down and out, when you're stuck in that third of earth for you?
Well, honestly, the best thing to do is avoid going to that place in the first place.
Well, there you go. That's it. Show's over. Just avoid it. Stay happy all the time. We're done. Our work is done. No. So it does sound great if we avoid it, but how do you do that?
Okay. So the trick is it all depends on your second element. So go back to the last episode. What's on second? And let's talk about that. It can help you from going to the what the bleep is on third worst place if you make friends with your second element and you're able to utilize it and you never have to go to that really bad third element.
Yeah. So here it is. Here is how it works. When life is throwing you some curveballs, like Lita was just talking about, you automatically are struggling, and your second element becomes activated. So try not to ignore that. So if your second element is wood, you may start to feel like really frustrated, which is a big thing for wood. But instead of feeling blocked by all the obstacles you're seeing, and you start complaining and blaming, which is also a common thing for wood. Sorry, wood people out there. But you have to start to go to the creativity of wood, its ability, the gift, the win-win, thinking outside the box, finding a creative solution.
Yeah, I just want to say, thinking outside the box is the thing that the second element people who are wood have to learn how to do.
Yeah. So you're starting to feel frustration and blame when things aren't going your way. Turn it around. Focus on using your ability, if you have wood second, to break through the obstacles. You don't even see them. You don't even know that they're there. You just start to make things happen. Instead of feeling frustrated, put the wood in action, think outside of the box, move on, find another way.
And if it's fire second, instead of feeling like nobody loves you, you open yourself up to all the love in the world that is being poured out into you. But even better, instead of being a black hole trying to suck up all the love in the world, turn it around. Start shining your own love out to everyone else in the world instead of feeling bad. And then you'll break through whatever's bothering you. And then if it's second, then you just need to receive all the gifts that are coming your way. You've likely been trying to do it all alone. This is a classic issue with Earth. And ask for help instead, either from friends or from the universe around you. Look for the help that's already supporting you.
Yeah, that's a great idea. So if you're metal second and you start to feel like things are not quite going the way you want it to go, remember all the honoring of you that you've had throughout your life, and then apply it back to yourself. See all the respect that is already there for you in the world. Remember, you are worth it, and you're not a piece of bleep.
Yeah, it's almost like they just have to hold their heads high. Remember how we said metal people walk almost like they're regal?
Yeah.
So if you're metal second, you need to feel that in your body.
That'll pull you back to your first, and you'll never get to your third.
Yeah. And if it's water second, which is my second, it's about your energy. So stop cutting off your energy and feeling like you have a limited amount of energy that's all used up.
Yeah.
Open the doors to it in your life. Imagine you have all these little doors covering your whole body. And instead of being pissy and thinking, I only have the energy that's inside me to do everything I want to do, open all those little doors to let in that universal energy. So I say to myself that I have access to unlimited universal energy, and I don't use any of my own energy up. And suddenly my tiredness goes away and my stamina returns. And this helps me avoid going into my whiny shutdown Earth mode.
You're never whiny.
And guess what? I never get sick anymore.
That's true.
I don't get sick.
That's a good thing.
I used to get really sick before.
So you don't go into that third. Your second catch usually put you back to the first. You see how that's working, everyone?
Yeah.
So, okay. So let's just say you're kind of figuring this stuff out for yourself. What happens when you get stuck in your third, like we said? What can you do when you're in that place? How do you unstick the stickiness?
Yes. Well, first you have to recognize that you're there, and you're not yourself when you're there. And it's the worst of you, and the one that sends everyone running the other direction.
Yeah,
so
that's why we said what the bleep is on third.
No one can tolerate being around someone who's stuck in their third.
Think about all those, the challenges we just placed of every element. You see them in everyone. You don't want to be around that.
Yeah. I mean, your partner's going to run the other way. They'll say, honey, go take a nap, and basically they're saying, leave me alone until you feel better.
Yeah, really. Okay, so it's hard to support that partner when they're in their third. It's not fun. No one wants to do it, but throw them a lifeline. Maybe they'll grab it. Maybe then pull themselves out. They have to be able to pull yourself out of this.
Yeah, I mean, a partner or a friend can definitely help you. And it's important to turn to those people and just say, I'm really struggling. And if they have the capacity to help you, that would be great. But, it's just not a fun place to be. And people, when they're learning the 5 elements, get really confused because they start thinking the person who is not being fun is fire because they're all hung up on love, or wood because they're frustrated. And so then it confuses what's the first element.
So they're really just stuck in their third. That's what I keep wanting to get through on this third. And that's why we love checking people's walk when we meet them. We don't know what energetic is for them at that moment. So we kind of look at the walk, and you can kind of see the walk doesn't change. You're stuck in your third. It doesn't matter. You still walk like your first element.
Yeah, that's a really good point. As you're learning the elements, you have to start thinking that it's not so important that you figure out the first element for a person or like a partner or a kid, but think always in threes. What are the three most common things you're seeing in this person's energy? And that will help a lot.
And you can maybe think about it when they're in their happy place and when they're not in their happy place. Everybody knows when people are being, itchy with a B. Okay, so how is it those things we just mentioned? So, there's a huge difference between a metal, wood, fire person and a metal, wood, water person. Completely different.
Totally, like so different. So here's how it works. Metal, wood, fire is socially engaging. And the yin metal is balanced by the strong yang energy of wood and fire. Whereas a metal, wood, water person is tough.
Tough.
Yeah, it's a no-nonsense kind of person because there's no strong social component. Earth and fire, take them out. If you subtract them out, they are not very social. So both are metal, but see how different they are.
Yeah, the ice cream flavor.
The ice cream flavor.
Mom, you get me wanting ice cream again. So when you're starting out thinking about the elements, the top 5 elements, everyone has 5. So the top 3, you can also start to look at some of the things we talked about in an earlier podcast, like the walk, like their voice, their eyes, even the clothing style sometimes.
And this will help you in your relationships at work, at home. You'll start to see patterns and have understandings about those people that are different than you. We just had someone post on the Facebook group that they saw someone out and about with the clothing that's Earth that we talked about. And anyway, like you'll know that someone might be a metal, wood, water combination because it's very matter of fact and not that friendly and not terribly social. So that's
metal, wood, water? Okay.
Yeah. Or it might be wood, water, metal, or water, any combination of those 3. And when they smile, it even looks sometimes fake.
Or forced.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen it.
Yeah. And then if you have fire, earth, and wood, we're talking about a very social, the most social person. Any combination of those 3. They're engaging, they're going to have difficulty being quiet, and they're not taking the back burner.
No. And then they have combinations in pairings like fire and metal together. One moving out, one moving in. There's lots of those pairings, and they might struggle more outgoing but shy, for example.
Like wood and earth together is bossy and sweet.
Yeah, those are confusing. Those are all the opposite energies that could show up in the same person and confuse all the rest of us.
Yes, and don't get freaked out if you can't figure it out. It's what I keep trying to say. Look at the walk, look at the eyes. Yeah,
sometimes we have people read a passage in the book and then we pass it to another person and have them read it, and you can really see the difference. Essentially, your authentic self isn't just your first element. It's all 3. It's actually all 5.
Yeah.
But we're going to go with the 3 theory right for this podcast, and learning how to use them is your advantage. It's the way to move through the world.
Yes, and they're the cornerstones of your core authentic self. So think of this as like a 3-legged stool. The remaining 2 elements...
Wait, no more ice cream? I can't eat a 3-legged stool.
No, you can't. Sorry. Are you still hungry?
Go ahead. 3-legged stool.
The remaining 2 elements are less important in your life, and you're just not interested in those energies most days. So you don't tend to utilize them much. And if you're bored, you might be attracted to someone who's one of those energies. They're totally different, so they're cool. But other than that, you don't feel the need to visit those energies much. And, it's elementally speaking, that's your 3-legged stool, the ones that matter.
Yeah. Let's think more. I was thinking about the 3-legged stool. And if one is out, then the leg, it'll fall over. So if you lose your 3rd leg, boop, you fall over. That's why you're probably in that bad place because you're mad you broke the stool.
Yes.
Okay. So let's think more about the idea behind what we call connecting your circle. And this is a book that we wrote a few years back, and we have the download in podcast 2. We'll put it in the show notes. Once again, we still have people asking for it. So it's a kind of like a primer on the 5 elements. It's an easy read, and it'll give you a little more direction on how to identify them.
It's a great place to start. And someone DM'd us today about they read the book and they were like, I'm 20% each of the 5. And they were confused.
Yeah.
And then they remember, for those who have heard the water podcast, if you think you're all 5, then you're probably water. So he wrote, as soon as he heard that podcast, he knew he was
I'm
water.
Yes, we wonder if he raised his arm and said, I'm water.
Said, I'm water.
So the water people, if you're like, I just can't tell, just listen to the water podcast and see how that goes. So, I think that, theoretically, we'd like to talk about the 5 elements, all 5 within us, and be a really well-rounded person. But didn't the philosophers of old, I like to say, think this was a key to a person's evolution?
Yes. So there's the idea in Chinese medicine and Taoism that if you develop all 5 elements within you, that means you work on the 4th and 5th one.
Yeah.
And when
that's how you connect your circle.
Yeah. Then you connect your circle. And that puts you into sort of an evolutionary path. And we've talked about that in the early podcasts, and we're going to visit back to that soon. And that's the idea that you could become a realized human being. So if you decide, if you decide to go ahead and really work on all 5 elements in yourself, not always be that default first element, but all of them, then you become a realized human being.
So if we came to learn all about success and succeeding, we came to learn as wood.
Yes. And if you're here to learn all about relationships, then you're fire.
How about community, caring, home?
Then you're earth, right? And if you're all about honor and respect, then you came as metal.
And how adventure and wisdom, we came as water.
Yes.
So, and the goal is to have one lesson. When you complete that, you've done your list, you can complete, you graduate, you go on, and that would be to home. Home with a capital H.
Yes,
correct?
the 9 palaces home.
So
yes.
the 9 palaces, yeah. I think that the question is, do you just die and start over, or do you actually pick a new lesson? Do you stop needing the lessons altogether, or you just die and go to whatever home is for you?
Well, some people believe when you complete your lesson, you can stick around and help everyone else learn their lessons.
Yeah, and that's the Bodhisattva, right?
Yeah.
If you want to kind of have a reference to like the Buddhist,
Yeah.
they put a name to it. It's called the Bodhisattva. And someone who's simply here on this planet to help and serve everyone else.
But they first have to resolve their own issues.
Yeah.
You can't be a Bodhisattva unless you first resolve all your relationship issues, for example.
So you have to connect your circle.
Yeah.
Yeah. See how we tie that all together?
Yeah.
So if you want to have this path, first you have to learn about yourself. You have to become that authentic person. You have to learn how you move energetically through the world.
And then you can learn all the other 5 elements.
Right. So that's really the way to do it. And then, it makes me think about the 9 palaces like we just went through. Within each element, there are palaces to work on. So I'll start with wood. For wood, it's health and wealth.
And for fire, it's relationship and prosperity,
Yeah,
actually.
we just mentioned earth is home.
Yes. And
they just get one, the big one.
And metal is adventure and creativity.
Yeah. And water, career and wisdom. So you can see how we just, correlated to what we said a few minutes ago. So it's the 9 palaces, which we also have done a podcast on, which we will be doing more of those on as well. So we could just go on and on and on. We love this stuff. But for today, we're just talking about this, what the bleep is on Thursday.
Hey, I have one little side note. Yesterday, day before, a client was saying to me, I have all 9 palaces out of whack. What do I do?
I get that all the time.
Right.
I get that almost every coach. I have it on my big giant whiteboard. I leave it up because we start talking about it. People are like, what do I do if they're all messed up? And I say, well, we just take it one step at a time.
Well, I did say to her, how about you just work on home?
Yeah.
Because guess what? Home is that shortcut, to the middle of the Parcheesi board. It's like if you work on home, all the others are supposed to resolve themselves.
Yeah, I think that's a really enlightened way to look at it.
Yeah.
Because if you think about the big picture, that's what it's about.
And
that's
the irony of it is she has been working on her home, her physical home, intensely for the last couple of months. That's the only thing she's been doing. All the other 8 palaces are a mess, but she's been working on her home. And so I think that's brilliant.
Yeah.
So anyway.
I know. I wish I'd come up with that, but it's some ancient Taoist philosopher who said, hey, just go for the home, go for the big one.
And home, just so you know, isn't just about your physical home.
It's the
about
capital
your
H.
Spiritual
It's the home. Where are you going to go? All right. That's really cool. So let's give a little bit of homework, and people who are listening we're going to give you some ways to start developing these other energies inside of you.
Yeah. So let's start with wood. So for wood, focus your energy in your diaphragm, just below your chest and above your stomach. Now, if you puff that area out until you feel your elbows have to move away from your body, And when you center your energy in your diaphragm, you feel a surge of confidence. You just can't help but feel stronger and ready to take on a challenge.
Yeah, when we have people do this, it makes me laugh because they start to walk like a wood person and they look like they're going to pick a fight with somebody. Like puff out their chest, they start getting this attitude, and it's very, I'm like, hey, bring it back a little bit. But you get that idea of you're powerful, you're strong, you're like, ah.
It's so funny
I actually make them say that sometimes, ah.
Yes. And it's so funny because it's my last element. And what's been great about teaching the 5 elements for so many years is I've had to learn how to be all 5 in order to teach them well. And that's really changed my life. You know, it's connecting my own circle. But I can really be with just about anyone and make them feel at home. But when I do wood, I think it's funny because I look like I am a completely different person.
Totally. You look like an angry penguin walking. I look like a happy penguin walking. You look like confused.
Well, I got to work on it some more. I'll go for a happy penguin next time.
Go for happy penguin. It's much more way better go through the world there.
But it's really a gift to be able to be in wood with people. Like, it's changed my whole life because if I want to go buy a car on a car lot, you know, I got to walk in there and have some, you know,
confidence, attitude, beep. But so you have some confidence. You have to have the ability to negotiate what you want, and moving through the world energetically like that. Yeah, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
for a lot of people. So, all right, so let's talk about fire exercises.
Well, you pull your energy up into your shoulders, and you think it's like tiny little champagne bubbles rising up from a newly uncorked bottle, and lift your eyebrows up and smile. And you can't help but feel joy when you do that. So you may start giggling for no apparent reason, just to warn you. And life is good. It's happy.
Be happy. I always say, be happy, man. Be happy. Do. That's the feeling of what I get when I'm walking in my fire mode. It's the second element for me, so I do it a lot without even thinking. So it's second nature to me. But I love the fire walk. It's this bounce. It's up. It's happy. Yes. Life is good.
Yes. And if you're Earth, you can practice planting your feet firmly on the ground and imagine you're connected energetically deep down into the earth. And you pull all your energy into the center of your belly and you center yourself for a second or two and relax and allow your stomach to stick out like you have a Buddha belly.
And give it a little rub.
Give it a little Buddha belly rub and feel the warmth and softness gathering your energy there. And you can't help but feel connected and held close to the energy and the knowledge of Mother Earth herself.
And you feel like your feet are the roots going into the earth.
Yeah.
And your head going towards heaven.
Yes.
Like it's this very earthly feeling. It's a good feeling. It's a warm feeling, or the warm and fuzzy feeling.
Yes. And if you're metal, you can practice, or you want to, I should say, if you want to practice being metal, you can roll your shoulders back so your chest expands. And you really want to feel the air go into your chest as you breathe. Lift your chin and then lift your head towards the heavens. And your eyes look straight forward. And imagine you're suspended from a string connected to the top of your head, all the way up to the clouds above you. And totally relax your arms. Let them dangle down like flopping at your sides. And walk like you're floating on a big puffy cloud, letting your body relax. And you can't help but feel mellow and reverent.
Yeah, I think it's that respect comes to those who earn it.
Yes.
It's like this metal is last for me, I think. And so I practice this once in a while, and the floppy arms help, and the head's in the clouds. It's a nice, it's very respectful.
And if you want to practice water, push all your energy into your low back and your kidneys. And you want to feel like that energy is building and revving like a powerful engine, remember?
Yeah.
And so it's going to propel you forward. So it's just revving, ready. Yeah. And you can't help but feel a surge of power that makes you feel awake and aware, and you're anticipating what's next.
Yeah, I think that, you're prepared to feel, be prepared to feel a little anxious about things you can do. It's kind of like a hyper state of awareness. For the slower energy water types, just go lie down on the couch and think about all the things you'll get done when you finish with your nap.
You got to chill.
Yeah, you got to think. So just kind of chill. And it's a really cool way to go.
And I forgot to say one thing. So when you're actually standing, you should do the water one standing. Really push your hips forward. Push them as far forward as you can. Yeah.
You're kind of like skating to the side a little bit, and practice that feeling of you could go any which way.
Yeah.
Any which way.
It's like ice skating because you're not bobbing.
Not bobbing.
And when you push your hips forward, that's the only way you can walk.
Yeah, it's the only way. So that's a fun one to do. And so those are the exercises that we want to practice, have you practice. So just go out and have some fun. It's always good to do it like on a bike path or, somewhere where you have a nice flat area to walk around. Bring your friends. And if you want to send us a video of your walk, we'll take a look at it. We've done it for many people.
We would love to take a look at your walk. If you're still confused about what element you are, we can help you out.
And, if you want to understand, like say you have wood last and you're like, I don't get the wood people, you have to go and hang out with them. Hang out with a wood person and become their grasshopper.
Yes.
And just listen to them and watch them. And then you could start to act like them a little bit. Same thing if it's metal, fire, or it doesn't matter. Just go hang out with these people if you want to. Get a crash course on what their life is like on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. How do they walk? How do they talk? What kind of music do they listen to? What kind of people do they like to hang out with? What is their favorite ice cream?
Yeah. What is their favorite? Yeah, really. And, it's a way to observe human nature.
Yeah. So go have fun with it. I mean, it's really about having fun and playing with energy.
Yeah. And you know what? When you do this, you try to have the same energy level that they bring to life.
Yeah.
And it might be super chill. It might be super hyper. It might be super fast. It might be super aggressive. You don't know until you start to understand and pay attention to how people are moving through the world energetically.
Right. Well, I like to say assertive, not aggressive.
Yes, assertive.
If we're talking about wood.
If you would pissed off, it's maybe a little aggressive.
Yeah.
But if you would on a normal, happy thing,
assertive.
that's great. So, we're kind of just starting to go into the end of the show here. So you'd love to know your experiences with this homework. How does it feel? Are you laughing? We want you to have fun with this. We don't want you to take it too serious. But what are your aha moments? When do you get it? Like, I think I'm getting it. We've already gotten a couple DMs, but let's see if we can get some more group talking about it.
Yeah, we actually recommended that you do a voice memo and email it to us. Then we could possibly play your question on air and then respond. So
and
you can send it to Lita@inspiredactionpodcast.com or Jay at
either one.
Action.
Jay or Lita. Yep. Well,
Podcast.
Either one of us at Inspired Action Sorry, I cut you off. Inspired Action Podcast. Okay, so that's it for today. But next up is our return to the alchemical topic. We're going to summarize the first stage of alchemy. So we're going to see how everyone's doing. We're going to start to introduce stage 2. And stage 2 is about releasing the baggage of your lifetime.
Yes. And we also have a little treat coming up where we're going to be talking about meditation again.
Yeah, we've had a lot of requests on people. They've gotten the first meditation. They're getting it, but they're struggling a little bit. So we're going to talk about meditation. And if you're struggling with the first step of meditating, you're not alone. This is a worldwide thing. We've met people all walks of life who really want to meditate. They just don't know what to do, how to change their lives to fit it in. So we have a couple podcasts that we're planning, and we're going to call them Meditate, Not Medicate.
And actually, I have someone who came in the other day who said, I can't meditate. And I gave her a trick, a new meditation. And by George.
I know. I want to get her on the show. I know the story. We're going to try to get her to come on the show and talk about it because
she did it.
She's doing really good so far. So it's not about your brain or there's something wrong with you. It's just learning how to
her energetics.
Take your energetics. Yeah. Which one, wood people don't meditate the same as earth people.
And water people.
And water people, and fire people. So everyone meditates differently. So if you can understand that, then you're going to give yourself a break. There's meditations for everyone. There's 4 different kinds we're going to talk about. And that's coming up in the next couple of weeks. So keep an eye out for it.
And there's different ways to meditate in all of those cases. So.
Yeah. And, I think we're just about done here. And you know what? We made it to the end of the podcast. Woohoo! Woohoo! Why not celebrate and hit that subscribe button?
Yes. Remember, subscribe doesn't mean you have to pay anything. It just means that you're telling the world you like the show. And it would really help us out.
And you'll get each one, an episode automatically sent to you if you subscribe. And if you have subscribed, thank you. Just maybe also do a rate and review. The more people that we get to rate and review, the more people or other people will find us.
Yeah, it literally helps people find our show.
Yeah, and I just finished a PDF on how to listen to a podcast, how to subscribe to a podcast, how to rate us for the podcast. These are all the things that people are telling us, so we're taking it to heart and we're trying to really make the show accessible for everyone. And there's a lot of people out there who have never listened to a podcast before. They hand me their phone and they say, put it on, show me how. So we want to teach people how to do it, and then they can tell other people.
So many people I know have listened to their first podcast was our podcast.
Yeah, and so we want to keep that momentum going. So
And we also have social media feeds that you might not know about. We have not only Facebook, we have Instagram and Twitter. And so you can check us out there. We're just kind of getting started with Twitter.
We're not too much on Twitter yet, but definitely on Instagram. I do that one a lot. And Facebook, Lita does a lot. So check our media feeds. We're also going to put that PDF that I finished on how to do that. We'll put that in the show notes as well. So if you have any more suggestions, we're listening. We're here. Remember, what inspires you inspires us.
Yes.
All right. Thanks for listening. Next week, Alchemy, moving on to stage 2. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. You've been listening to the Inspired Action Podcast. You can follow our Inspired Actions on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
If you haven't yet, please subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. If you have already, thank you so much. We read all reviews and really appreciate your input. Join us next week for another Inspired Action conversation. Thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to hug the dog.